Nagato. Got no father like I'm Naruto. Keep the blade on me, Ichigo. Who really wanna go toe for toe? GTR from Tokyo. Diamonds whipping up on the stove. Lucky man like a 4-leaf clove. Diamonds wanna go invisible.
Hey everyone, this is Nagato Revenge here. Hope you guys are having an awesome Wednesday for today. In today's video / showcase, I'm going to be showing you guys on how to add PlayStation portable games as well as PS1 games as official bubbles onto your LiveArea, and this method does work with the PlayStation Vita and as well with the PlayStation TV. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be splitting it up into 2 parts. So for part 1, I'm going to be showcasing on how to install Adrenaline as well as Adrenaline Bubble Manager and how to transfer your PSP games from your PC or your PS1 games from your PC to your Vita or TV. For part 2 of this, I'm going to be showcasing on how to convert your PlayStation 1 games from .bin file or .bin.CUE format to PPP files, and I'll explain a little bit more into the actual video and intro about why we have to do this and why is it better that your guys are on .ppp format in your PS1 games. So for example, if your games are already in .ppp format, you could kind of skip part 2, but if you have a game that's in .bin, you're going to have to go ahead and basically convert it to a .ppp file. With all that fun stuff getting out the way as well, if you guys could please follow my latest social medias so you'll never forget the latest hacking guides and tutorials I'll drop on my channel. My goal is to drop videos on a daily basis or a weekly basis, so the best way to know when I drop my latest content on my channel is to just go ahead and follow my Twitter and my other social media, so you'll never forget the content I drop, since I usually try to update on a daily basis as stated as before. As well, if you do want to join my official Discord and you want to support me and my community, you could go ahead and join in the link in the description below, or as showcased on the screen, you could go ahead and type in that link in the URL bar onto Google Chrome or whatever web browser you use and join via that way. Not only do you meet new people from the hacking and basically hacking and modding scene, you can get the latest hacking guides and tutorials for your favorite consoles such as PlayStation Classic, the Vita, PSTV, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and also for the PS4. Those are all the topics I usually talk about on my channel as well. If you need any support on how to set up your Vita and all that fun stuff, you can join my Discord and I can help all you guys from there. If you do want to support my channel, you can feel free to donate via my PayPal. Any of the money that I may receive from my fans and supporters, that money will go straight back into my YouTube, and it will help me buy better things such as a better microphone, a camera, and editing tools and software, so I could produce the best content so y'all guys could see on my channel. So that money will go for those reasons as stated. And with all that fun stuff getting out the way, we could go ahead and get started on the prerequisites and things you'll need for this video. So as showcased here, first things first, you need of course a modded PlayStation Vita or PSTV via using a Henkaku, H-Encore, or the Trinity hack. Your system needs to be on 3.60 or 3.70 firmware. So if you have a Vita that's on 3.70 firmware or a PlayStation TV at that matter, and you don't know how to hack, I'll basically have a card right now that will showcase how to hack your system on that firmware. So you can just click that video, come back to this video, and then we'll be on the same page. As well, you need to be on the latest version of VitaShell. You need to have the latest version of Adrenaline installed. You need the 6.61.ppp file to basically the update for Adrenaline. As well, you need the latest version of Adrenaline Bubble Manager. You need any PSP game of your choice. You need any PlayStation 1 game cover art or box art. So for today's example, I'm going to be using Gran Turismo, so I'm going to be using cover art for that game. As well, you need any PlayStation 1 game that is either in BIN.CUE or PPP format. If your game is already in PPP format, you already did half of your steps. But if your game's in a bin and CUE, like I said, for part 2 of this video, I'm going to be showcasing on how to convert that. And as well, you need FileZilla FTP client or a USB charging cable for your Vita to basically transfer over your files to your basically for your system to the PC. And any of the items that I stated as of right now will be downloads in the description below, and any of the tools will be down below so you guys could download and you won't have to search it all online. Some other prerequisites you'll need is a tool if your game is on BIN.CUE format, and this is only for the PlayStation 1 side of things. So part 2, we're going to be using a thing called PSXPSP.exe, and this will be the tool that will allow us to convert our bin games to our PPP file. So for example, your game's content ID you got to know that for this process. So example, I'm going to be playing Gran Turismo for this video, and my version for Gran Turismo is from the United States, so I need to basically find the content ID that corresponds with the US version of Gran Turismo. And here at Showcase, here's the content ID that is for me for the US region. So make sure where you download your games from, or your copy of your BIN.CUE format for your games, make sure you know the content ID for your PlayStation 1 game. All you would have to do, let's say if you have the European version of Spyro or Crash Bandicoot, just go on Google and type Crash Bandicoot Euro content ID, and it should pop up with a content ID that looks like this. With all that fun stuff getting out the way as well, some other things you'll need to know for this video is some tips and reminders. So here at Showcase, here is the information for our cover art. So our icon 0 PNG, aka the thumbnail or box art, needs to be formatted into these dimensions, and we're going to be using paint for that. It's optional to do the pic0.png, but you can do it as well. So if you want to have a background to your game, basically like how on your Vita you see like the game's background when you click on it right before you're about to play it, that's basically the pic0.png. You could also have that as well, but for today I'm just going to be doing the icon 0 PNG. And then at Showcase here, I show you guys on the directory on how it should be formatted, where we should put our PS1 games at. So in the directory UX0, aka your memory card, you have to go through PSP Game, then your game name, aka this was where the PS1 game, and then eboot.pbp. This is how it should be formatted. With all that tips and reminders getting stated out the way, I just want to give a special thanks out to ONElua development team for making Adrenaline Bubble Manager, to the official Flow for making the Adrenaline emulator, and I just want to give a big shout out to all my fans and supporters out there. I do apologize for this intro for being pretty long, but I just want to get stated all of the bugs, and not bugs, but all of the prerequisites and things you'll need to know before doing this process. With all that fun stuff getting out the way, we'll go ahead and get started on the PC portion of this tutorial. So meet you guys there. Alrighty guys, sorry for the intro being super long, but for right now, since we're on the PC, we could go ahead and get started on the PC side of things. As showcased here, I have my file separated into two parts. So this side will be for part 1 of the installation, and here is part 2 for that side of the installation. We're gonna go ahead and get started with part 1, and I'm gonna explain the things you need for here. So of course, here is Adrenaline Bubble Manager.vpk, and any of the items I state will be in the download description below, despite these two games right here, but any other tools and stuff like that I'll have in a link in the description below. Here's Adrenaline Bubble Manager.vpk. This is going to allow us to take all of our games from Adrenaline and then port them as bubbles to our Vita for the LiveArea. So all you would have to do is just click into the LiveArea to play your games, instead of going to Adrenaline each and every single time to play your PS1 or PSP classics. For the second VPK, here's Adrenaline. This is the actual PSP emulator that we need to install first, so Adrenaline Bubble Manager.vpk can work. Here is 6.61.pbp file. This is basically the update file that Adrenaline needs to basically work and to basically extract all of the contents from the PSP so the emulator could work itself. And here of course is Parappa the Rapper, the actual game. The next step, or basically for part 2, here is my game of choice, Gran Turismo USA. Here's the United States version, and you see it's in a .bin format. What we have to do is take our PSX to PSP, which is this program right here, and then basically convert it with this program to a PBP file, and I'll show you or show more of that in part 2. And of course, here is Gran Turismo, the cover art. I see here, if you look at the dimensions, it's 144 or 1445 by 138, or I can't even talk today, but you see the dimensions right here. Basically we got to format it to these dimensions, which I have right here, so it could be the correct size for the icon 0 PNG. With all that fun stuff getting out the way, we're going to start on part 1 of this. So what I'm going to do now is go showcase my PlayStation Vita and the things what we need to do first to get this all set up. And as well, what you want to get your started now, make sure you have your USB cable if you're going to transfer files that way. But I'm going to be using FileZilla FTP client for this whole tutorial, and of course I'll have FileZilla FTP client on how to download that via in the link in the description below. But right now we're going to go ahead and transfer to the Vita. Alrighty guys, so I showcase here I'm basically on my PlayStation Vita. The first thing what we need to do is go ahead into VitaShell and get that opened up. So let me just open up VitaShell. So if you're using the Trinity exploit, go ahead and run Trinity. If you're using basically H-Encore, go ahead and run that. But since I'm on Henkaku Endo, I could just go ahead and run VitaShell since I already have Henkaku at boot. But once you're into VitaShell, what we need to do is go ahead and transfer our files over via either FTP or USB. So what I'm going to do now is hit start on my PlayStation Vita and make sure your Wi-Fi is on, of course. And then what we need to do is for your select button, either toggle to FTP or USB. So if you're going to be using a USB method, which I do recommend for this process, since if you're going to be transferring a lot of games or whatever, make sure you do USB, since if doing it for FileZilla FTP client, it's using your Wi-Fi and transferring files may take longer for that method. But since I'm using FileZilla FTP client, I got to use FTP method, so that's why I'm toggling left and right. So make sure you just toggle right if you're using FTP and just toggle left for USB. Once you have that, what you need to do now is go ahead and hit select on file transfer, and now you should see your Vita's FTP server now running, and here is my FTP server. So what I'm going to do now is just leave my Vita just on standby and then go back onto the PC, boot up FileZilla FTP client so we could get our files transferred over. So I'll meet you guys for that part. Alrighty guys, so since we have our PlayStation Vita already ready to transfer, or basically it's ready to transfer files, what we're going to do is go into FileZilla FTP client. If you don't know how to install this or haven't watched my other videos, I basically will have that in the link in the description below. But I showcase here what I'm going to do for our host. We're just going to type in our Vita's IP. So here is mine's right here. The port, guys, is always 13337. And if you get this little error saying insecure FTP connection, basically you just go ahead and click on this and then just hit OK. And then what we need to do is scroll all the way down. Let me just drag this down. We need to drag our files to UX0, aka our memory card. So what I'm going to do now is go to take Adrenaline Bubble, basically manager, Adrenaline VPK, and also the 6.61 PBB file. We're just going to drag that to UX0, and as well we're going to drag our game of choice, but later on we're going to move this into another directory once it's fully done. So right now, as you see, all of my files are transferring over. What I'm going to do now is basically just pause the video right here and wait for it to transfer over. So I'll meet you guys for that part once it's done.
A few moments later.
Alrighty guys, so I showcase here all of my files successfully transferred over. So what we need to do now is just go ahead to our PlayStation Vita and then get our VPKs installed. So I'll meet you guys for that. Alrighty guys, so I showcased here we're basically back onto the PlayStation Vita. What we need to do now is just go ahead and hit circle out of our FTP server, and now what we need to do is to go into UX0 by clicking X, and we need to go ahead and get our VPKs installed. So what we need to do now is just go ahead and install Adrenaline.vpk, and then just go ahead and click X and install it just like a normal program. And then once Adrenaline.vpk is finished, what we're going to do is go ahead and install Adrenaline Bubble Manager.vpk as well. Just go ahead and click X on that screen as showcased here. And then once both of these VPKs are fully successfully installed, we're going to take our game of choice, which is Parappa the Rapper, or you may have a multitude of games. We're going to have to transfer that into PSP IMU folder, and I'll show you guys on how to do that as well. So basically 2 of my VPKs has successfully installed. What I'm going to do now is hit triangle over my game of choice, then hit X to move it. Then I'm going to go scroll all the way up to PSP IMU as showcased here. And then I'm going to go into ISO. If you don't have this ISO folder, the way on how to create one is just go ahead and hit triangle, scroll all the way down to new, and then go into new folder. And then from here, you'll just have to write down ISO in all capital letters. So make sure it says ISO in all caps. And this is where we're going to put our games in. So I showcased here, I already have some games already previously in here. But once you already have all that stuff, what we're going to do now is just back out of VitaShell as showcased here. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. And then right now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and install these two VPKs. So, or basically run both of these VPKs. So the first VPK we're going to run is Adrenaline. And then right now, as showcased here, you may get this little error that says 6.61 firmware has not been installed. What we need to do is just go ahead and back out. And then from right now, what we need to do is go into VitaShell once again. So running VitaShell right now, I'm gonna just go ahead and hit yes. What we need to do is take our 6.61 PBP file in UX0, this file right here, and then move that as well. So hit triangle and then it'll copy it over. We need to go into our app folder, scroll all the way down to PSP CFW, and then just paste the 6.61 file right here. Now you're just gonna back out of VitaShell once again, scroll all the way down to Adrenaline. And then right now, basically Adrenaline is going to install our games, or basically not the game, but is going to install the 6.61 firmware onto our memory card. So just go ahead and hit X for that. And now I showcased here, it's going to create all of our directories, and it's going to extract all of the contents out of that .ppp file as showcased here. So it won't take too long. It may take like 10 to 30 seconds. But once it's fully finished, we're going to go ahead and boot into Adrenaline. And then we're going to go ahead and back out of Adrenaline once it's finished doing its thing. So should be done soon. So as showcased here, the firmware has been successfully installed. Just go ahead and press X to boot to the PSP XMB. So that's what I'm doing right here. And then once that is fully finished, you can see that you're basically into Adrenaline. So if you haven't ever installed Adrenaline for the first time, I'll just ask you for your initial setup. I'm just gonna go ahead and run through this stuff because it's really not important. But once you're into Adrenaline, just verify if you go to your memory stick, you see all of your games of choice. Once you verify that your games are here, what we're gonna do is hold down our PlayStation button. And then what we're going to do is go into settings. It may not show on the screen, but go into settings, and then you want to go ahead and exit out of PSP application. And then we're going to go ahead and hit circle over that. What we're going to do now is run into Adrenaline Bubble Manager. Just go ahead and hit start. And now what we're going to do is go ahead and let it do its thing for its initial setup. So as showcased here, it's just saying the changelog. It added an option to inject games via the manual. Just go ahead and hit the update. So let it do its thing. Make sure that your Wi-Fi is on for the update, so it may take a little while. So as you see on the lower part of the screen, it's doing its update. And then once the update is fully finished, I'm going to teach you guys on how to basically port your PSP titles onto the stuff right here. So as you see here, it's you know, extracting out all of its files, and then it's rebooting basically right now, and it's doing the update. So it should be almost done unpacking the VPK and all of its sources and all of its contents. So just leave your Vita, like, you know, on standby. And then once that stuff is fully done, you should see the boot up screen once again. And then basically it will ask your Vita, it needs to basically restart since it created all of the update content. So just go ahead and hit X. And then once my PlayStation Vita is booted back on the screen, I'll show you guys on the next step on what we need to do. Alrighty guys, so once your Vita has fully rebooted, what we need to do now is just go ahead and scroll back into Adrenaline, the actual app. and then just go ahead and hit start, and then basically let it run into its main menu, and then we're going to go ahead and back out and run Adrenaline Manager again. The only reason why we need to do this is just to confirm that all of our games are still here and it's going to work with the actual update, and it detailed that after I restarted my system. So as you see, all my games are here. Let's just go ahead and hit our home button for like a while, and then go into exit out PSXPSP. I'm gonna go ahead and scroll down. Now what we're going to do is go into Adrenaline Bubble Manager. Just go ahead and install or start it like a normal homebrew. Now as showcased here, you see all of my games of choice. What we're going to do is go ahead and basically click on our game. So here is I'm trying to find my game of choice actually. I'm just going to do Hatsune Miku, or no, here's Parappa the Rapper. So we're going to just go ahead and hit X on Parappa the Rapper. And this is where you're going to do your bubble title ID. Just go ahead and hit the green button on your Vita. And then right here, it's going to basically convert the resources for Parappa the Rapper. So as showcased here, that was the icon 0PNG. And now it's creating a bubble onto my PlayStation Vita. So what should happen if I go back out to the home menu? You should see Parappa the Rapper right now as an icon on my live screen. So what I'm going to do now is just run Parappa the Rapper. And you could do this for each of your titles, and that's how simple it is. It does seem like a tedious task for the initial setup, but as showcased here, I am running Parappa the Rapper in live time with the bubble manager, instead of me going into the actual Adrenaline menu every single time, which is like another step. But yeah, that's essentially how you do it for PSP games. Now I'm going to showcase on how to do it for PlayStation 1 titles and how to get that set up for the PC. So I'll meet you guys for that part right now. Alrighty guys, so as showcased here, assuming that you did follow part 1 all correctly, we could go ahead and get started on part 2 and get our PlayStation 1 game that is in a BIN.CUE format to basically convert to a .pvp file, and we could go ahead and get started right now. So as showcased here, here's Gran Turismo, here's my cover art of choice, and all of the other items I just deleted it off my PC since it's not needed right now. And here is PSX to PSP. What I'm going to do now is take my cover art. You can find your game's cover art just in Google. Just type in whatever your PS1 title name is. So you could just do Crash Bandicoot box art. Make sure it's in good resolution and stuff like that. But once you find your your box art of choice and you transfer it to your desktop or wherever you have it, we're going to go ahead and right click over our file, go into open with, and then go into paint. And then what we're going to do now is just go ahead and verify what our dimensions is. So this is where we're going to set our dimensions for a thing. So 144 to 80. Let me open up paint a little bit more. So once you're in paint and you got your image loaded into it, go into resize, go into pixels, and you want to untoggle off maintain aspect. We're just going to go to 144, or let me just go ahead and minimize that out, and then make it into 80. Let me just verify this again because my memory is kind of shot right now. So yeah, 144 to 80, and then just go ahead and hit OK. Now what you want to do is go into File, Save As, and save this file as a PNG. So what I'm going to do is just label it as icon, all in capital letters, 0, and then .png, if I could type today. And then just save it onto your desktop, and now we can minimize out paint. So this is the file that we're going to be using right now. And the next step, what we need to do once we got our cover art formatted into the right dimensions as showcased here, we're going to go into PSX to PSP. We're going to go into PSX to PSP right here, and this is how it should look. If it's your first time using this program, it will just ask you on how you want the GUI to look like. Just go ahead and hit OK if you get that little message, but this is what we need to go ahead and start with. So first things first, we need to find our ISO or PSP or PBP file. In our case, it's a bin, so we're just going to go click on this, go ahead and hit open. Now what we need to do, it should pop up some of its metadata. So here is the game title. You could go ahead and set this to the main game title as well. I'm just going to set it to Gran Turismo, and it should tell you the game's ID or content ID. If your game is not shown up in a database or couldn't find it from the bin file, what you need to do is just go into Google, as I stated. Let's say for example you have the European version of Crash Bandicoot. All you would have to do is just type in Crash Bandicoot EU and then content ID for PS1, and you should get this little metadata. If not, I'll have a link to the description for like a PS1 database for all the most of the popular games for PS1, so you can find your game's ID and you can look from there. So once you have your game ID, your title and data, we're going to go ahead and set our icon 0 PNG. This is the icon 0 PNG right here. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and set this last mark right here, our output PBP folder. So this is where we're going to extract the PBP file to, or this is where it's going to be located once it's converted over. So this is my desktop. I'm just going to put it on my desktop. You can put it anywhere, but once you have all that set up, we're going to go into preview, and this is how it's going to look, or at least the icon is going to look. And then once that is all done, what we're going to do is just to convert. And as showcased here at the bottom, you saw on the screen, it outputted the content ID from here, and now it's making it into our PBP file. It may take a little while, so that's why I'm going to cut the video right now. But once it's all done converting the .bin file to a PBP, we're going to go ahead and transfer this file over into our certain directory, and then get that all done and set over to the Vita. Right now, and then what I'm going to do is just showcase the Vita and then open up VitaShell to get this file to transfer over. So I'll meet you guys for that process. Alrighty guys, so we're back onto the PlayStation Vita as shown here. Showcased here, what we need to do now is go ahead and take our game and open up FileZilla FTP client. So if you already know how to do it, just type in your IP, type in a port, and just go ahead and hit quick connect. Now what we need to do is go into UX0, aka our memory card, scroll all the way down to PSP.exe, so this folder right here. Go into PSP, go ahead and go into game, and this is where we're going to drag our game of choice. So if it was Spyro, Gran Turismo, whatever PlayStation 1 game, and it's in an ebook.pbp format as showcased here, just going to go ahead and drag it into our game section. So right now it's transferring, so what I'm going to do is just pause the video right here. Once the game has fully successfully transferred over, I'm going to go to the Vita, and then we're going to do the same process with the Adrenaline manager, or excuse me, Adrenaline bubble manager. So it's pretty much the same steps, just doing it for the, but I'll meet you guys once this process has fully finished.
A few moments later.
Alrighty guys, so as showcased here, all my files successfully has transferred over. So what we're going to do now is go ahead back onto the PlayStation Vita and then get Gran Turismo fully installed as a bubble onto our system. So I'll meet you guys for that process. Alright guys, so since we're back onto the PlayStation Vita, what we need to do now is go ahead and hit circle onto our Vita. And now what we need to do is just go ahead and back out of VitaShell. And then what we need to do is go back into Adrenaline Bubble Manager. So let me just go ahead and reopen the program. Then once Adrenaline Manager has showcased onto the screen, what we're going to do now is go ahead and find our game of choice. So as showcased here, here is Gran Turismo, the game that we just converted as a PBP file from a bin. And what we need to do now is just go ahead and hit X over it. go ahead and, you know, title the bubble name however you want it. So since it's already made for me, I don't have to do that step. So here's Gran Turismo, and then just go ahead and hit start. And now what is happening is converting the game from a, you know, actual file to a bubble, so you can see onto your PlayStation Vita. So if I go ahead and back out, as you can see here, here's Parappa the Rapper, and here is also Gran Turismo showcased onto the actual screen. And let me just go ahead and run it so you guys can see. I won't be playing a lot of the, you know, gameplay as showcased. I just wanted to show that the game is booting in live time. So it takes a little while, but as you probably hear from my Vita in my hand right now, that the game is running in real time. I'm just gonna go ahead, and if I hold down the PlayStation button, you probably could see some of the settings, or if not, you could probably see I can make the thing widescreen if I wanted to, normal, zoom, and all that stuff. If I wanted to, you know, make the volume a little bit higher, I could also do that as well. But yeah, here is Gran Turismo on my PlayStation Vita running as a bubble instead of me going into adrenaline. If you guys did enjoy this video and did learn something, I do apologize for this video being super long, but I usually like to go in depth with my videos, so, you know, it's very easy for, you know, y'all guys to watch. But with all that fun stuff getting out the way, my name is Nagato's Revenge. Hope you guys are gonna have a great weekend for today, but I'm gonna be signing out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Nice and silky smooth.